joined on the phone line by Mr. Mukul Rohatgi, who is, of course, the lead of that legal team which defended Aryan Khan in court. Mr. Rohatgi, thank you so much for speaking to us here on Mirror Now. What's your first point that you would want to make? Anything that you have to say with regard to the NCB investigation now that they've gone to court saying we don't have enough proof in this case?
Well, madam, all in all, I am relieved that the NCB has realized that there was no material then and there is no material now against Aryan Khan, and they have been gracious enough to realize that and file a charge sheet in which he is not named. That's my first reaction. My second reaction is that I wish they had not been hasty at the time when this young man was arrested. Had they been more circumspect then, that since no drugs were found on him, he should not have been arrested in the first place. The poor fellow spent 25 harrowing days in jail for no fault of his. That is my second reaction. But I would say all in all is well that ends well, and the chapter should be treated as closed, and it is up to NCB as a prosecution body or a prosecution agency to do its introspection in-house to see whether all procedures were followed at the time of making the arrest, or was something overlooked, and was it in a hasty manner, was it because of the media glare, that nobody should say later that they let off a celebrity, etc. They should hold an inquiry and come to their own conclusions, which will benefit them in future cases.
Right. Mr. Rohatgi, my first question, is there any legal action now that you as, the lead lawyer in this particular case, is Aryan Khan, from Aryan Khan's side, is there any legal action that you're planning to take now?
Madam, I am nobody to take action. My clients will have to decide what they want to do. But my gut feel is that we should let this chapter be closed and nothing further should be done, because carrying on further with more cases or more tortures takes more time, and it's unnecessary. I don't think anything should happen. We should close the chapter.
Right. Sorry. Again, I'll have to. Yes, please carry on.
The last word is, of course, is always the client.
Right. Sorry, sir, I have to press on this point once again. Any reaction? Have you spoken to Aryan Khan about this? As you said,
no, madam, I have not spoken. I have not spoken to him.
Right. Sir, what do you think? I mean, last question before I let you go. I understand you want this to be a closed chapter, but there are strong questions being raised. We've spoken to so many people who have reacted on this now. They are raising strong questions on the way that NCB has carried out this investigation to begin with. This raises questions about the functioning of a central investigative agency, and they have been involved in so many high-profile cases of late. Don't you think that this begs for a situation where, at least there have to be certain big questions raised on the way the way that NCB has handled this particular case?
See, I have already told you, NCB is a prosecution agency. They should do their own introspection. That is probably the best. The director of NCB should cause an inquiry in-house to see what went wrong in making this kind of arrest. But look, you are talking only about one case. But I do hundreds and thousands of cases, and I have done in the last 40 years. There are hundreds of cases where people are arrested, charge sheets are not filed. I mean, we're not speaking about them, we're only speaking about one case. So really speaking, it's an issue where all prosecution bodies, whether it's the local police, whether it is Enforcement Directorate, whether it is DRI, whether it is GST, whether it is CBI, so many prosecution agencies are going about arresting people left, right, and center. All of them should sit together, because they are prosecution agencies of the states and the center. They should sit together. They should have a symposium. They should rack their brains. They should pick their brains. Why is it that we are going on arresting people? We have to understand, and they must understand, and the courts must realize that even a power of arrest does not in law mean that arrest must follow. Power of arrest, or the right to arrest and actual arrest, are two different things. And the law says that arrest should be the measure of last resort. You should arrest the person if you feel he's going to run away and not be available for a trial. That's the real reason why you arrest people. You don't arrest people to provide for punishment. Punishment is after conviction. That is the job of a court, to grant punishment. The job of the prosecution agency is not to punish somebody before the trial takes place and the judge decides. These are all questions which arise every day. We raise them in courts every day. But since you have raised this question, I would request the powers that be, namely of the center and the states, to sit together and decide what should be the parameters for arrest. The law should be followed. It should be a measure of last resort. Millions and hundreds of people are losing their liberty because of some person who is overreacting, some person who is hasty, some person who may be arrogant, some person who doesn't bother about liberty. All this should be crushed out by everybody concerned sitting together. That's the real way. This halo of arrests, which is hanging over hundreds of people in this country, that's the way it will go.
Mr. Rohatgi, my last question to you. I'm really sorry, but this Aryan Khan spent 26 days in jail. There are these other people also, his friends, people of his age group, they also spent several days in jail. As you said, this is just one of the many cases. Because it's a high-profile case, probably it's got a lot more media attention, and we are also part of that. But the point is, the fact that it is such a high-profile case, still the investigative agency behaved like this. Don't you think, as you said, that civil society probably and maybe the top legal minds need to get together to see what should be done? What is the main lesson to learn from this? But is your client or anybody, from the other people who have also been involved in this particular case, any legal recourse being considered at this point in time for the fact that he spent nearly a month in jail for this case where there is no evidence? That's what the charge sheet says.
Well, according to me, it is absolutely wrong that he spent 25 days in jail and liberty was curtailed, but that there is no doubt. But I told you, there are hundreds and lakhs of cases where people are spending months and years in jail as an under trial. And yet they are acquitted and no charge sheets are filed after 2 years. It's an endemic problem. Whether our clients wish to take some legal action, etc., for a wrongful arrest is up to them. I am not privy to any such decision. But as I told you, it's an endemic question and it should be tackled holistically by all the prosecution agencies put together. Thank you very much. I need to go now.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rohatgi, for sharing your thoughts on this. The first thoughts there coming in from the legal team, the person who was leading the legal team of Aryan Khan, Mukul Rohatgi, speaking exclusively to Mirror Now and talking about the fact that, main point that he made is that there is a need for the NCB to introspect and look into what exactly went wrong with this particular case. Whether or not Aryan Khan, his client, is going to take any sort of legal action now as a fallout of this charge sheet is not clear yet, but it is open for consideration for sure. We'll, of course, have to wait and see what's the follow-up which comes through from Aryan Khan's side and also several other people who had, in fact, been jailed for this case where the NCB is now saying there's not sufficient evidence. That's the charge sheet that they've submitted in court. Time for us to slip into a short break.